The 30th of January, 1933, Germany. Adolf Hitler, the leader of the Nazi Party, is appointed Chancellor of Germany and aims to lead the German master race to victory in the racial struggle against those deemed as inferior peoples, especially the Jews. The Nazi regime quickly begins to restrict the civil and human rights of the Jewish people and gradually excludes them from professions, businesses, and public spaces. During all this time, propaganda campaigns create an atmosphere tolerant of violence against Jews, with a goal to encourage passivity and acceptance of anti-Jewish laws and decrees as a vehicle to restore public order. Propaganda that demonizes Jews also serves to prepare the German population in the context of national emergency for harsher measures, such as mass deportations and eventually genocide. Between 1933 and 1945, Nazi Germany and its European allies will establish more than 44,000 camps and other incarceration sites, including ghettos. The perpetrators will use these locations for forced labor, detention of people deemed to be enemies of the state, and the mass murder of millions. One such perpetrator is Horst Petri. Horst Petri was born on the 18th of March 1913 in Fulsborn, then part of the German Empire. After graduating from high school, Horst trained as a farmer and received a graduate degree in farming in 1935. On the 30th of January 1933, Adolf Hitler was appointed Chancellor of Germany by President Paul von Hindenburg. Horst joined the Nazi Party in 1932, and in 1934 he became a member of the SS. In 1936, he met the 16-year-old Erna, and despite her father's objections, they quickly began a relationship. A year later, Erna became pregnant, and the two got married in 1938. The child was a boy, and several years later they had one more child, a daughter who was born in January 1943. In 1939, Horst received SS training at the Dachau and Buchenwald concentration camps and was promoted to second lieutenant. The Second World War began on the 1st of September 1939 when Germany invaded Poland. Nazi Germany possessed overwhelming military superiority over Poland. Germany launched the unprovoked attack with an advance force consisting of more than 2,000 tanks, supported by nearly 900 bombers and over 400 fighter planes. In all, Germany deployed 60 divisions and nearly 1.5 million men in the invasion. The assault on Poland demonstrated Germany's ability to combine air power and armor in a new kind of mobile warfare. The world adopted a new term to describe Germany's successful war tactic, Blitzkrieg, or lightning war. The last operational Polish unit surrendered on the 6th of October. After Poland's defeat in early October 1939, Nazi Germany and the Soviet Union divided the country in accordance with a secret protocol to the German-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact. Poland was split into thirds, the western third annexed to Germany, the eastern third annexed to the Soviet Union, and the middle third turned into a semi-independent administrative unit called the General Government. In 1941, Petri was conscripted into the Waffen-SS, which was the military branch of the SS. Believing that Germany would be victorious in war, SS Chief Heinrich Himmler intended to strengthen the position of the SS relative to the established German elites after the war. To end this, Himmler persuaded Adolf Hitler in late 1939 to permit the establishment of an armed SS force known as the Waffen-SS. Although initially restricted to 4 divisions, the Waffen-SS eventually fielded more than 20 divisions. This created an armed force of about 500,000 men and established a command and operations structure to rival the German army. Shortly after the German army conquered Galicia, located in the southeastern part of the General Government, the civil administration assigned 21 agricultural estates to the SS. The SS estates were to be the first step towards the Germanization of the General Government, which was to be implemented over a period of 15 to 20 years. The aim of the Germanization was to eradicate the linguistic, cultural, and ethnic diversity of local populations, reinforcing German dominance and hegemony. The tasks of the SS estate administrators included supplying the military and occupation administration in the district, delivering food to the Reich, securing the agricultural production of the surrounding villages, and collecting the contingents. If these were not fulfilled, or only insufficiently fulfilled, then the SS farmers had the authority to enforce severe punitive actions against entire villages. Horst Petri came to the SS estate Lipica Dolna in German-occupied Poland in the summer of 1941 as an employee. In the summer of 1942, he took over the SS estate Grzenda, today's Ukrainian Hrada, once the grand manor house of a Polish noble located in the region of Galicia, as the manager of the farm. His wife Erna, who had continued to live in Germany with their 3-year-old son, moved with him into the Grzenda manor house. Horst became an advisor for 18 other SS estates in the districts of Galicia and Kraków. Within 2 days of moving, Erna witnessed her husband beating a laborer. Horst was also a sexual deviant who would routinely rape his female servants. Local farmers called him a sadist who enjoyed whipping Ukrainians, Poles, and Jews. Many high-ranking officials from the nearby Lviv, today the largest city in the western Ukraine, would often visit Petri's new estate. On one occasion, the wife of the most senior SS officer in the region arrived with 2 aides, a chauffeur, and an assistant. While the Petris led their visitor through the garden, one of the aides suddenly appeared and reported that 4 Jews who had escaped from a train, headed to a gassing center near Lublin, had been caught on the estate. The chauffeur and Horst discussed what to do with them. Horst told his wife and her female guest that this was men's work, nothing the women should be concerned about. As the women walked away from the garden back toward the house, they heard 4 pistol shots. When Horst was not home, he participated in mass shootings of the Jewish population in a town next to the estate. He also participated in mass deportations and the massacre of 15 Ukrainian farmers who were reported to have delivered food to partisans. Horst also once indiscriminately bombed a Ukrainian village with grenade launchers after suspecting the citizens of supporting partisans. 7 villagers died as a result of the bombing. Erna followed her husband's lead and abused her farm workers. She often fired warning shots at them, sometimes as her son watched. On one occasion, Erna had her husband send 3 Ukrainian peasant women to Janowska concentration camp after they refused to work. To her surprise, all 3 women were spared death, and she allowed them back to the manor several weeks later. Erna also accompanied her husband on hunts for fugitive Jews, during which he personally killed 4 Jewish men. After the harvest in autumn 1942, the approximately 150 Jews from Genda were also transported to the Janowska concentration camp, or the Belzec extermination camp. In mid-November 1942, Soviet forces launched a counter-offensive against the Germans arrayed at Stalingrad and encircled an entire German army, more than 220,000 soldiers. In February 1943, the German Sixth Army, after months of fierce fighting and heavy casualties, having exhausted their ammunition and food, finally capitulated, making it the first of Hitler's field armies to surrender during World War II. The battle for the city of Stalingrad proved a decisive psychological turning point, ending a string of German victories in the summer of 1942 and beginning the long retreat westward. The Soviet army remained on the offensive, liberating most of Ukraine and virtually all of Russia and eastern Belarusia during 1943. In 1944, the Petris fled their manor due to the advance of the Red Army, and Horst got his SS tattoo removed to destroy evidence. He was then taken prisoner by US soldiers, but was released in May 1945. Horst and Erna both avoided detection during the initial search for war criminals in the post-war period. They settled down in East Germany and became farmers. In 1957, their son fled the country, drawing the attention of the Stasi, the East German secret police, which started surveilling them. They were arrested for anti-state activities in 1961. While searching through their house, Stasi officers found no evidence of the couple plotting against the state. However, they happened to come across photos of the Genda manor and a guest book from the war which contained the names of numerous senior SS and German army officers. Both Petris were interrogated for months, and Horst was the first one to confess. Erna initially denied everything, but in the end she gave in and confessed after about a month of questioning. Asked why she did not talk sooner, she said she feared punishment, but thought her husband would take the blame for her crimes. Both confessions were detailed and consistent with one another. The Stasi then turned over the evidence to the local prosecutor, who charged them with numerous offenses, including war crimes and crimes against humanity. In September 1962, both Horst and his wife went on trial in Erfurt, where 17 witnesses, mostly former workers from the manor, testified against them. In an open recording of the trial, Erna was so open with the details of her crime that the prosecutor cut her off and said, "Thank you, we have heard enough." Although Horst was less cooperative, the testimony of the witnesses confirmed his guilt beyond any doubt. At times, Erna got caught in memory lapses, and as a result, she was called out as a liar by the judge. In his verdict, the judge recognized the passage of time, but while he acknowledged this, he said, "It is essential that these crimes be uncovered with regard to the passage of time." He considered having both Petris executed. However, he felt that Erna's husband was partly responsible for her behavior, and that the constant interaction with the SS beasts in Grzenda was a considerable factor in causing her to commit crimes. He also said that overall, Horst's crimes were far more serious. No Jewish witnesses were sought for the trial, so Horst's further crimes against Jews were not mentioned. Nevertheless, the evidence showed that Horst had not routinely abused and murdered people, but that he often did this on his own initiative, without direct orders. According to the judge, this was the deciding factor in sentencing. On the 15th of September 1962, Erna was sentenced to life in prison, and Horst to death. Horst appealed to the Supreme Court of East Germany, but the appeal was rejected less than a month later. Chief of State Walter Ulbricht had the option to grant clemency, but he declined to intervene. Horst Petri was 49 years old when he was guillotined at the Leipzig prison on the 22nd of December 1962. His remains were cremated, and he was buried in an unmarked grave. His wife Erna spent nearly 30 years in prison and was released on health grounds in 1992, more than 2 years after the Berlin Wall had fallen in November 1989. She died in July 2000, a few months after her 80th birthday. There were no tears shed for Horst and Erna Petri. Thanks for watching the World History Channel. Be sure to like and subscribe, and click the bell notification icon so you don't miss our next episodes. We thank you, and we'll see you next time on the channel.